Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Gagnon Atelier. I'm your old pal, Tim Gagnon, and today we have got a great guest. You're going to love it. You saw a little sneak peek of him just there. We have Cesar Santos with us today. I got to be honest, I'm geeking out. I'm geeking out completely. I have been following this guy for at least a year or two. As long as he's been on YouTube, I've been following him, and I discovered his art there. And his art is it's going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind, and it's going to be a fantastic interview. He's a really, really dynamic guy. He's got all kinds of great things he's going to talk to us about. And so you want to make sure that you are sharing this and liking this. And if you are, matter of fact, I'm going to add my little text and media here on the screen so you can do that. And but just to remind you, if you guys are watching this on Facebook Live, which we are live right now, every Friday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, tune in, watch it, tell your friends. But if you can go to the Gagnon Atelier page and like our page, and if you can do that, that'd be great. If you can share it, that's great. The other thing you can do for us that's really great is instead of just sharing it to your page, you can do what is called a watch party. And a watch party is really great because what it does is it notifies all of your friend list that you are watching something, that you're hosting a watch party. And then it invites your friends to join in. So if you can do that for us, my gosh, that would be the best, because then all your friends that may not know about us would see it. And then that just spreads it out virally and everything goes. I don't know if that's the right word to use right about now. But anyway, yeah, so if you could do that, that'd be great. We also have a YouTube channel, the Gagnon Atelier YouTube channel. And you can check that out. We've got a few videos there. What we're going to be doing here real soon is we're going to be taking all of the previous videos from our Facebook Live and putting them onto YouTube so you guys can watch them again. So with that said, guys, I really appreciate you guys checking us out. And I am going to bring in our guest here today. And here he is. Here he comes. 3, 2, 1. Boom. There he is. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you for having me here.
We had a little mix-up here today, everybody. I think you guys are going to love it. I had no idea that you are a night owl to that degree. So you were just now going to bed.
Yes, I almost leave you. I almost go to sleep waiting for my interview with you at 10 p.m. I thought it was going to be. Oh, my God. And we just talked about it yesterday.
Oh, my goodness.
I apologize for being late.
So I go on at 9 a.m. Central Time, which is 10 a.m. your time, but you had thought p.m. So you work. Your habit, I guess, is to work at night. So you work all night.
Yes, and normally today was a little bit extreme because I was gonna post a YouTube, like a video on my YouTube channel, and I also posted a painting that I finished last night on my Instagram. So days that I'm posting, I stay up until I post it in the morning, then I go to sleep. But otherwise, then I go to sleep at 5 or 6 in the morning, like a little earlier. So it depends. But it depends also on the routine. Nowadays, everybody's also in their houses, so everybody's actually experiencing a little bit of the artist life, I guess. Wow. You know, with this quarantine, I'm guessing a lot of people are now finding out how I live my life.
Oh, that's wild. That's funny. You know, I had a friend.
And this is water, by the way.
Oh, that's fine. But I had a friend that talked about that you know, that there were times to post on social media that were much more effective than others. And so you working at night and then posting at certain times, is that something you do on purpose, or is that something that you do just because that's your habit?
Yeah, just I finished the painting. I wanted to share it. And then I get that over with and I start another one. I don't really think of times like that. No, it's just when I'm ready, I just do it.
Right. There you go. Cool. Cool. That's pretty laid back way to do it, which is nice. You know, there's some people that take this down to a science, a social media thing, because you're really, really active on social media, like a lot.
No, I'm active, and I try to kind of look at the trends and see if I can fit in there, but nothing that I force myself to do it. For me, it's more like intuitive, and I rather go like that, because otherwise, I rather have like my platform belonging to me and my rhythm, instead of me trying to catch up with whatever the trends are, or like the best possible time just for a few more followers. Not worth it.
There you go. That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point. So how has your YouTube channel and your social media affected your art in your career-wise?
Interesting. You know, that's a funny question, because before I used to post a lot, and I was painting for a while, and I had my Facebook account before it got blocked by because of a nude drawing I did, and I had to start again. But I was very active there, and in time I realized that once I started sharing my personality and the stories, or things got better.
Okay, so it was more
like people started to get to know me. Yeah, like the art became like my personality too, instead of just images that I was posting behind and nobody could see, like nobody got to know me before. So that was nice that that I saw that reaction from people, like engaging more.
Right,
so,
right. That is a really good point, because I think that a lot of people in the hobbyist artists that are wanting to go pro, or they're trying to make that transition, they don't sometimes understand that it's a twofold thing. And even in a bad economy, art can sell, because it all depends more. You have to have great art, obviously. That's your first step. Make sure that you're making great art. But then there's the other side of that, and that's something that I've taught my children this since the day they were born. They drive them crazy when they hear me say it, but it's true, is that relationships are the highest form of currency.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what it is. And people buy art sometimes because they want to have that connection with the artist and that relationship with the artist. And by you going on YouTube and doing a lot of social media that way, I get to know you, and I get to get your personality and get your vibe. And then I see that in your paintings.
Yeah, it's like being part of a journey. So people see how I'm committed to kind of having this weird communication that is beyond words, and then people want to be part of that. So of course, if they can connect with your journey, it's more enriching and more fulfilling, I guess. So yeah, definitely. Even though sometimes artists can help or not help their art. I know because in my case, I think since I studied theater, my art is a little bit of that dramatic, like the way I present it and the way I think about it is a little bit theatrical. So that helps me in my, like, I also like being on camera and talking, but some artists are more like divided in when they do art is profound. And then when they come to express it with words, they cannot achieve the same depth. And sometimes in those cases, it's better to then step aside a little bit and be more shy and introverted and let their art be the one communicating the whole thing.
Right, so, to speak for them.
It depends on the individual, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's interesting that you said that about the theater. Did you take theater in high school or anything like that, or
in college? Yeah, 4 years.
Okay, so you were a drama kid.
Well, no, it was like more, in college. I thought, because I wasn't satisfied with my like visual arts studies. And that's when I started exploring with music and with theater and other arts. And but I didn't even know I had that love for that. And I guess I had a good teacher too. Like once you have a good teacher, I guess you want to become whatever they are teaching,
That's true. That's true. That's pretty neat. Yeah. And you could definitely tell, when someone has that background when they're in front of a camera. Some people see that the red light and they just lock up and they freeze and they panic and stuff. And it just depends on how different people are and different personalities. But I like what you were talking about the sometimes you just got to let the art speak for itself, because you're going to get in the way.
And galleries sometimes even know that. Like galleries sometimes recommend the artist don't show up or something like that. I've heard stories like that. Or sometimes when the artists help, the galleries like come over. They want to meet you. So it depends, I guess, and that's the game of life, I guess.
Right, right. I have a friend. His name is Patrick Reynolds, and he does a lot of the art festivals, and he goes down to South Florida and Central Florida and does the big art festivals there. And he pretty much sells all of his work. He paints all year long, but he just sells in really the spring, just before the snowbirds leave. He sells pretty much all of his annual income in that time. He's hitting a different one every weekend down there. And he does really well. But one of the things he talks about is that personality and how, you know, he says he'll have artists that are actually better than him, but they're sitting in their don't talk to me chair. And nobody's buying their art, and their art is lower in sales and everything else. So you think it would sell like hotcakes, but they're not selling anything. And he's selling like this because he's very engaging. He's a born salesman. He brings people in. Hey, come in, check this out. And by the time they leave, they're carrying a painting out because they have to have one of his paintings, you know.
And that's why I think that's why you need to know your strengths. So in case you're one of those artists that needs a representation, that's when a dealer comes into play, because they know how to sell it. They know how to present it to people. So
right.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Now, what do you think is the difference, before we get a little into the deeper stuff? What do you think?
Just a second. ¿Qué pasó? Estoy live, no importa. Dale, no importa. All right. No, because I remind, sorry about this. It's just that I wanted to share this with what you mentioned yesterday, and I don't know if I should do it now. So my wife was actually
go ahead. No, the floor is yours, dude.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just probably can give her my phone and she can do it, but let's see. That's why I interrupted. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no. I completely forgot where we were going. So, no. So let's talk about when you, before I get into the deeper subjects about your person, your art, and all that. When you were talking about galleries and stuff with the social media, a lot of people are wondering, do we even need galleries anymore? So what is your idea on galleries versus selling online or selling direct? How has the world changing in that area affected you in your career, and how are you navigating that? Are you in galleries? I mean,
yeah, I have a couple of galleries in Europe and also in California and here in Miami. But I always saw the galleries as the marketplace, as a supermarket. Mm-hmm. Where they have a variety of artists and they have a style they like, and they have a projection of where to present it, and the people, like the collectors. And I saw artists as the kind of like the farmers. You're creating this thing that is attached to you that sometimes we don't know how to put it out there, and then the gallery is the one doing that. Some artists, like you were saying, are good at doing it by themselves. They don't need it, and some galleries are super dependent on their galleries. And I guess that's fine too. The way is, I think what is important is to put the art out there, to put it, right. And social media has been a great help. That's why maybe people are wondering if we need them anymore. But right. I think there will always be the need to, and also for people that like buying art from a professional that knows how to sell, knows how to keep in touch, knows how to do stuff that artists. It's like another profession that to be good at, you have to study it and get into it. And that might distract from your art. So in my case, I rather focus in my art and give that to other people that knows how to move it. In case something comes to me, I have learned how to deal with it. And I've done several transactions and commissions and stuff like this. But I wouldn't close my doors and say, I'm going to do this or this type. I just kind of leave it flexible.
Okay, so that's the thing. You're more flexible, but you are in galleries. And so do you also sell direct, or is it just?
Yes.
Okay, so you do both.
Yeah, I do both. But but mainly when I sell direct is because, it's easier. It's like an easier thing that someone comes. Like I'm not preparing and setting up things to sell directly,
Gotcha. Cool. Well, hey, I wanted to talk with you a little bit about the beginnings of your career. Every artist says this. I've been drawing since I was a little kid. Like when I was a kid, we were real poor. We didn't have You'd think I lived in a paper mill town. You'd think I could get paper, but I couldn't. I couldn't get paper. I mean, my town is so small; it had more moose than people. I mean, it really did.
Wow.
And, just this little isolated town up north. And so when I was growing up, like I didn't see really like a white sheet of like copy paper, and I didn't draw on that till I was probably in high school. And so I was drawing on paper grocery store bags with charcoal that I dug out of the fireplace every morning because we heated the house with wood. So I was drawing with anything I could get hold of. I would draw with carpenter, the square carpenter pencils. I would have some of those, and that's what I drew with. So, I mean, when you were a kid, what was it like for you growing up as an artist? Were you an artist growing up? How was your family? Did they support you? Did they not support you? How did they go from, when you were growing up to develop as an artist and decide to go into a career? Tell us a little bit about that.
In my case, I always drew. I was one of those kids that, I got a pencil. I would be drawing in my, in school, looking, at the teacher, doing stuff for the kids. You disappear from the camera. Is that fine?
Yes, I guess you still hear me.
Okay.
Yeah, just keep going. I got your full screen with your name and your website on there. You're looking fancy, my friend.
Nice. I just first time using this app, so I just disappeared for a second since we're live. I wanted to make sure that you were there. So basically, growing up in Cuba, I was involved with the arts, and my uncle, a painter, also saw that in me and told my parents, he is serious about this because it's not normal for a kid to spend so much time drawing and doing stuff like this. So yeah, every opportunity I got, I did it. My parents supported me. My father put me into boxing and other sports to kind of balance out my artistic side, because in Cuba, again, I've said this many times, but Cuba is a little bit of a different environment. You cannot just focus in what you like and be protected there. You have to learn how to survive and deal with hard situation and tough kids and how it's a little bit more wild. And so he was just, I guess, wishing the best for me and training me as a general person. And then when we came here, when I was 12 years old, he understood that the circumstances were different. So he said, why don't you focus into whatever you want to do? So that's when I started more seriously studying art. And that was, and also like, when I talk, I try to say stuff that might help people, okay? And everybody's case is different, but sometimes you see parents or you see like young kids like wanting to do all this art and learning all this stuff. And my recommendation is to take it easy and enjoy life, because life is what gives you the richness to create art and to be sensitive about like what is it that our society needs and what has to be filtered out and what has to be taken into consideration to create art that connects to the people of our time. And so that is, so I wouldn't recommend too much like getting into crazy studying art and becoming an artist yet if you're young. So at that time, I was just like exploring life. And yes, I was in touch with the arts, but I was kind of also checking other things. I was in, still boxing. I was still like I said before, like studying theater or music, and all those things help you as an artist after.
Oh, wow, fantastic. So I saw when you were talking about you learned boxing. So I trained boxing too for about 10 years. But you actually, you fought Golden Glove, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Yeah, and I got the gold medal in Europe in a European Championship in 2008.
Oh, wow. Sweet. That is fantastic. Fantastic. You can tell it in your nose.
Yeah, definitely. And some scars around my head.
Yeah, that's all right. That's how chicks dig scars.
Yeah.
There you go. That's funny. So that's really cool. So it's like, so you came from Cuba at 12, you said. So what was that like, coming to America and landing in Florida?
My family here called me the happy kid, because I was always like, since I came here, I was like bright. Like I was looking at everything with such a intensity, because I never saw so many things like joy of looking at things. Like in Cuba, everything is like kind of brown and dark. It's a kind of medieval, because there's not so much technology. So not so much light, not so much bright colors, packaging.
Mhm.
all this stuff that we have here that we sometimes don't even like, and we think that it's, you know, pollution or something. But for me, it was a lot of intricate things to look at, and I love that. And I was always happy, like everything was so amazing, like compared to where I was.
You know, that's funny because when I was a kid growing up, my grandparents did the snowbird thing. You know, they flew south and they spent the winter. They retired and they came to Florida. They spent, you know, they came down to Florida and then they would spend their whole winter there. And then they'd come back in May and they would sit. We'd all sit around the table and they would tell us about Florida and they would tell us about the buffets, and because we didn't have buffets up there. And my dad was like, "You're crazy! $5 for all you can eat. You're crazy!" You know, and all this. And they would tell us about Disney World, and they would tell us about how at the time my grandfather lived they stayed in a trailer park right outside of Cape Canaveral, and so he would sit on his porch and watch the space shuttle go up, and my brain would be like, couldn't believe it. He would tell me, he'd say, "Timmy, and there's lizards, because we don't have lizards up there, you know, and it's too cold." And so he would say, "The lizards, they just walk around everywhere." And I'm like thinking they were like dinosaurs and all this. And so when I moved to Florida, it's like I was telling my wife now, it's like I was trimming our palm trees this past weekend and dying of heat and all that. But I was super happy about I had a chainsaw on a stick. So you know it was a good day, right?
Yeah.
Trimming the trees. And I'm thinking, I own a house in Florida with 6 palm trees. I have arrived.
Yeah, that's nice, man.
Like this grand thing, but I've got palm trees. So yeah, Florida is pretty exciting. So you came to America and it's your mind. And
I guess just being out of Cuba was a good thing. So I guess even Cubans that arrive anywhere else in the world, they also experience that same thing, because anything I think is better than living in Cuba. Honestly.
Yeah, I hear you. So, so you came to America. You lived here. You started going to college. Where did you go to college?
I went to Miami-Dade College, and then from there, well, I got accepted to the New World School of the Arts, and that's a 4-year program. But the first 2 years is Miami-Dade College, and then the second 2 years is University of Florida. So that's what I was. That was where I studied in college. Yeah, just contemporary, you know, mainstream art.
Right, just a traditional art education, and then you went off to
not traditional, contemporary.
Yeah, okay, but then you went to when I say traditional, I mean just regular, normal American.
Yeah, traditional in our time, like 100 years ago. Not 500.
yeah, because you know it's funny. You know, I teach art at at my local state college. And, you know, it's very different than the college art program that I went to. I went to the Academy of Art University in San Francisco, and very different art education than what I see at the college I teach at. The college I teach at is a typical state college, and we have a great art program, but it's very different than the way that I learned at the Academy. And so just a different art education type is more 100% focused where I went. Now you went to... where did you go after that? I want to say you went to Italy?
Yeah, I went to Italy because I grasped the energy of our time. Like for me, being an artist was always to see how to present new material to our time, to our people. And I saw the pendulum going too much towards forgetting about technique and like every age, they don't like the ages that came before. And classical art got so superficial with the technique of the 19th century, and the people that I admire, like Bouguereau and all these people, took art to such a provocative, like just it was more like beauty and you know all this stuff, and they missed, I think, the deeper part, like that connection to the bigger us.
Okay.
And I think artists started to change and going more inward and finding deeper meaning in art. And that's how we got then rid of all that technique that was building up, because there was no more need for that. They were like, man, look at our science, look at our wars, look at our time. So I think all that influence, but then after a while it gets old and it has to recycle again. So I think we're in that period of transition once more, rediscovering a better solution as a language for our time as artists. So then I realized I live in Miami. I saw the museums and I saw everything, and I said to myself, man, I love portraiture so much, and these teachers are making me hate it because they're not encouraging it. They're telling me that that's old school, don't paint realistically, and I understand why they're saying that, but it's something in me, like I belong to my time and I wanted to rescue it. So then that's why I went opposite and went to study classical art, to bring it in and make it new again. But I didn't go with the idea of rescuing the past. I went with the idea of improving my skill set so that I can paint what I experience, nature. You know, how do I see nature and how do I express myself in a way that more people can be part of it?
Right. That makes sense. It is, you know, I talk to a lot of artists that are our age and especially older, that are in the realism, you know, portraiture, figurative painters, and how much they were discouraged to go into that area. And so, like, I talked to Ricky Mujica last week, and he was talking about how, you know, he had to make a living doing romance novel covers because nobody was buying that art, you know, and so he was making a good living doing that, you know, and then now it's changed where you can make a good living as a figurative portraiture artist, whereas in the past, no one would, you know, the idea of why would I buy a painting of somebody I don't know to hang in my house? Yeah. You know, nowadays people do it all the time. And
well, yeah, because it's not even about logic in a way, you know, even though people might think like that and that's what they verbalize, but inside the feeling of the space they're living didn't belong to such a painting like that, you know. They were with other mindsets that require a little bit more of that raw essence from an artist. They, you know, it was very strange how we have moved.
Yeah, it really is. And I think, I mean, as a figurative portrait artist, I'm like, yay, it's about time. You know, I'm finally in the cool kid club. It's like, you know, when I was growing up, you know, being a nerd was a very, very bad thing. You know, now they're cool. It's cool to be a nerd, you know, and be into comic books and science fiction and all that. But back then, that'd get you beat up, you know?
Yeah, because there was like every time religion is the one dictating the art of their time. So there's like a sense of a religious mindset. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's always the one dictating good art from bad art. And in the last 100 years, this was the new religious feeling of the elite, of the establishment, let's say, and they would select what was good art and bad art, and we will feel we'll be in the category of bad art because we were relating to the art that they rebelled against. So now then we are now saying, wait a minute, the whole thing is changing now people like vintage stuff. Now we like an artist that is more sensitive, and it's no more like, oh, I'm doing this just for the intellectuals out there. It's more because you have this vision and you love it and you have the time to do it, and that's becoming more valuable than before we got lost with it, you know.
Right. That's a great point, you know, because that is a huge thing about the art world, and it's interesting that you said it was like a religion, and you're right, it is. It was like a religious of, you know,
and the principles, they had like principles that you shouldn't do, you know, you shouldn't be blending that much, you shouldn't be doing this or that.
Exactly. You know, and everyone's trying to be avant-garde and cutting edge and new and exciting, and so they're rejecting all this other type of art. And it was like, you know, and now, you know, and art, let's be honest, art can sometimes get weird, you know, when you duct taping bananas to walls and stuff, you know, and it was like, and then you see this art, there was a meme I saw when that banana duct tape to the wall came out. It was like, you see this artist with this gorgeous painting underneath him, he's holding it in his hand, and he's looking at the banana on the wall, and he goes, why am I even bothering? You know, and there was that, you know, but it, for a lot of people, and in some ways in the past, and when I say in the past, just the last 20, 30 years, it was like the banana duct tape to the wall, that was real art. That was cutting edge. That was exciting. And portraiture was like, you know, oh, that's all. Why are you doing that? Why are you wasting your time? But there's a resurgence in that, and I think
and it was
skill.
and I think at that time, like you mentioned, I don't think a banana would have made it either. The funny part is that the banana for me is a symbol of almost that dying art, because it's becoming like popular, which is what they were against,
Right.
And now it's becoming like weird popular. So it's like it's a transition, because before you see Damien Hirst, like that's the real, like the installations that he was having, copying other, and I think all these performances were a little bit more deep and more profound than now what we see in the art fairs. So the art fairs now is like a commercial weirdness that is not like defined. So I think it's in a transition.
Yeah, I think so. It's like I think about Picasso. He started off as a representational artist doing figurative work, and it was amazing figurative work. And then when the camera came around and started getting everybody's hands, people would just take photos. They didn't, and it was a new fancy piece of technology everybody wanted. So they were like, "What can we as artists do that a camera can't?" And so they developed things like abstract art and his style and all these things, and cubism and all this different art came out. And then, but it's almost like, I think nowadays, if Picasso was still alive, he may have started going back to the representational art a little bit. I think he may have started to go, okay, that wave, he rode that wave, and now it's coming back to, the old saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And people are starting to dress like in the 80s again. It's a terrible thing.
Yeah, even though they don't like certain aspects of the past of that time, but they still dress like them. It's funny how they criticize that era, but then they want to look like them.
They want to look like that, yeah.
And that's what our whole history has been like. We look for elements in the past that we like. We pick and choose what matches our new vision, and then reject the rest. And then that way we can keep advancing little by little. And sometimes we have bumps, and sometimes we have a smooth ride. So
that's pretty wild. That's a great point. Hey, what I want to do next is I want to show some of your artwork, so that there's probably a lot of my viewers that you're new to them, and so I'm really excited about showing some of your art. And so I'm going to put you full screen. I'm going to pop up some of your artwork next to you. And what I want to talk to you about a little bit is your technique, because one of the things that I really love about your style and your genre, and you guys, when you see his stuff, your brains are going to explode a little bit. I'm going to be honest. I told you this last night when we were talking, that your artwork reminds me a lot of Michelangelo, and not the Ninja Turtle guys, the art. And so some of my friends, they know the Ninja Turtles more than the artist, so I got to educate them, a little bit. But when I say that your art reminds me of Michelangelo, it's Michelangelo had like two nicknames that his contemporaries called him. They called him Il Divino, and they also called him Il Terribilita. And so he was called the divine one and the terrible one. And what they meant by that is that his art, there was something about it that was like his skill level and the aura and the power, and when you saw Michelangelo's work, it kind of made you sit back and just stare at it for a while, and it had like something to it that elevated it above his contemporaries. And then, so there's the divine one thing. And then for the terrible one, it was his art had a sense of like shock and awe. I think during, I'm a vet, and I served. I didn't serve over there, but I served during the first Gulf War, and there was that thing called shock and awe, and where we just bombed the bejeebies out of everybody to the point where they were so scared, even though we weren't hitting like people, the people saw it and they were like, we're done, we surrender, that kind of thing. And it was like Michelangelo's work was so amazing. When Raphael snuck in and saw it, with Bramante, he was like, I got to change everything I do, And when I see your work, there's an aura, and you talked about it earlier, your personality comes through the painting.
Interesting.
Your dynamic personality, your aura, a bit of your soul. Artists always say there's a bit of my soul in every painting, but there's so much of you in there that it's noticeable, and it's got some power to it. And so I really, really like that about your artwork, is that I can feel there's more to it than just a painting.
Thanks for that. And also, I mean, I wouldn't dare to even do that comparison in my head, but it's funny how
okay. You got your old pal Tim for that.
Thanks. No, but there is something in that every age requires a different type of artist, and also artists bring a new reality to the imagination of the people, and that's what Michelangelo was doing at the time. That was like Beethoven's style of adding that personal aspect to the standards and the canons of the time, and that added like a crispiness to things, and people were like, oh my god, I've never seen this like this. So, and also the way he presented like people more real, with like more like that aspect of nature that they never saw before in art or sculpture. And I think what I'm trying to do now, that is maybe what you're reacting to, is that I'm mixing the hyper image, like the hyper digital image of photos, together with that classical beauty and idealization. And I think those two things, in my sense, in my feeling, is creating like a new, and that's why I paint so much, because I'm like, want to grab it, but it keeps escaping. So it's like that it's just presenting a new reality, like a new dimension for people to see in a resolution that they've never seen before, which is that mixture of those two things.
Right. What you just said is so great. You know, it's like, that's the life of an artist. You're constantly chasing after something that's 2 steps ahead of you. You're never going to catch it. But you want to catch it so bad, and you want it, you know, it's like, and that's the drive of an artist. You know, it's like, you're in this constant, what's up here. No matter how skilled you get, you're never going to be as skilled as what you have in here. And it's that chasing after it, and that's that drive that I think only artists truly understand.
Yeah, because it's not even like, it's hard to describe it, because it's not a skill in a sense, like it's an expression, you know, because there is the beauty of the idea, and then the beauty of form, how you render it, but that expression is so difficult to grasp, and it's like beyond words, like I said before, and that is like almost impossible. Yeah. That's funny.
Man, so let's take a look. I'm gonna hide me, and I'm gonna put
myself. Cool. Do you want me to talk about these, or what? You're gonna have questions about this? Tim, I don't hear you. Whose life? Me? You? I don't understand.
Can you hear me now? Now you can hear me.
What happened?
I don't know what happened there. We'll figure it out. I thought we could put you on and you could still hear me. But yeah, no, if you could talk about these paintings. What I was saying is that I see sometimes in your sketchbooks, like you'll paint right on top of a charcoal drawing. So can you talk to us a little bit about like your process and why you do this? And because you'll do charcoal drawings, like here's the charcoal drawing. And then we have a painting.
A painting of that, yeah.
Is this the same charcoal drawing, or is it? So
no, that's a different piece.
Okay, so you painted. So you did the charcoal as a study, and then you.
I mean, this one had charcoal underneath, but not as much as the other one. Like I would not finish something so much to then paint on top. Okay. But what I mean, the process is fairly simple. I get the page or the linen. I prepare it with gesso. And then I do the drawing. And once I get all the proportions done, all the composition set, then I go about and I can either put a coat of clear gesso on top of the drawing, so you can still see through it and you can see the drawing. So when you paint, it can guide me, or I can just spray it with a fixative. And once that's fixed, I can go also and paint on top of that.
Okay, but you don't do a fully rendered charcoal drawing. You just do a quick.
Yeah, unless I need to do that, unless I'm flirting with it and then I want to show it. So it depends on the thing, but yeah, normally I don't cover something that I worked a lot on.
Right. Now this particular painting, how big is this painting?
This piece is about 40 by 40, something like that.
Okay, so it's just as big as the original drawing then.
Yeah, a little bit smaller. A little bit smaller.
Yeah. Okay. So now, do you normally? I saw one photo of your studio, and it seemed like your studio, you work mostly really big.
I used to, yeah. That's serious. That's serious. Yeah. Now I'm doing a series in the sketchbook, which is like I went opposite. I went to super small. You know, it's like 12 by 9 inches. So yeah.
So now you're going more with your sketchbook, because your sketchbooks, one of the things that I love about you is you do your sketchbook tours on your YouTube channel, where you basically just take us through your sketchbooks, and they're full to the gills. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I love sketchbooks. It's like, that's why I'm working on sketchbooks now, because I realized that looking at my past, it's something I kept doing all the time. And I'm like, why would I do like a production for like fine arts, you know, linen, if I've been so committed to my sketchbooks? And then I decided to spend some time just and develop my sketchbooks as I have developed my like other art for galleries. And as a matter of fact, we had a show recently with all the pages from a sketchbook framed and hanging. So definitely they could be pieces of art in themselves.
I'd love to see one of your sketchbooks published. You know, like a book that people could buy, like your sketchbook. That would, to me, would be a fun one to have, you know, with all the notes in there and everything else, like kind of like Leonardo sketchbooks that people buy. You know, it'd be neat to see, because that way you really get into the artist's mind. It's and I love sketchbooks too. I like to do I do a lot of plein air painting, and to me, it's like, instead of I'm a big fan of James Gurney. I don't know if you're familiar with James Gurney's work.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's one of my art heroes, mainly because of dinosaurs. I'm a huge dinosaur fanatic. And I think most artists, that's probably the first thing they drew as a kid was dinosaurs, you know, at least boys. But, you know, I follow him a lot, and I totally stole his, you know, his plein air kit, you know, and his kit and all that. And I go out and I plein air paint, and I do it in a watercolor sketchbook, real small watercolor sketchbook. But what I love about it is when you're done, you just throw it on your coffee table, and it's like this, instead of a photo album, it's this, all the paintings of your journey, your adventure, things like that. So let me show another one of your pieces of art here. This one I absolutely love. Want to show, there we go. There we go. Tell us a little bit about her.
That's a Cuban girl, the model, and she dances a Spanish like flamenco. And I went to one of her shows and I saw her, and then we were talking to, because I have some friends, my neighbors, they, you know, there's a couple, and the woman dances flamenco, and they were friends, so we went to dinner. And I asked her, you know, can I paint you? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, just like that, don't change. And she had like, she was already wearing all that stuff. So I just took a photo to make that painting.
What you just said there is pretty good. I got two questions for you in that regard, because, you know, one of the things that I always struggle with, my series of painting that I'm working on right now, it's my big, you know, my big magnum opus. And I think that's how you say it. But anyway, it's called Illuminated Messiah, and I'm painting every book of the Bible. And it's a pretty big thing. And one of my paintings is the Queen of Sheba. And, you know, so it's just, you know, kind of like this, the woman's face kind of coming out of the darkness. And the way the paintings work is all 66 paintings connect like a jigsaw puzzle. And they form a giant 12-foot cross. And there's little hints in every painting that you can't see. But when they all come together, you see the body of Jesus crucified on the cross. So the little hints and little things like that. So it's exciting. But the Queen of Sheba is Jesus's left kneecap. And so, yeah, it's kind of the thing. But you would never know by looking at the individual painting. You would just see a portrait like this. But then when it comes all together, it's his knee. And but anyway, so my thing for me, it's always like, okay, I'm a 48-year-old married man, and I have to go up to maybe like, because I'm like this, I'll see, like, I know the exact model I want. I've seen her, and I'm like, that's her, that's her. And then I'm like, how do I ask her to do her portrait without looking like a complete creepazoid?
Forget about it.
You know, it's like, you can't go up to it and say, can I paint you? It just sounds like, you sound like a wackadoo crazy man, you know, and all that.
But in a way,
someone to paint. how do you go about that? Like, how do you find
I make sure that is part of my thing. Like, I would never go out of my way like that much.
Right.
Or at least I try not to. But I recommend painting things and trying to love more things that are within your life. Because it's like what happens in plein air painting too. A lot of people just walk around finding the best shot, the best place, and they look and travel, and not knowing that the best way to express art is from like the local part. And sometimes we want to be enjoying our own art, and we forget that is closer than we thought.
Right. Sometimes the best plein air painting is in your backyard.
Yeah. Or something that call your attention, and that's it. That's what it was, you know.
That is true. So do you normally hire models? Do you use an agency, or do you just paint your friends that you meet?
Paint my friends. Yeah, I've hired models like that I know, and I say, hey, can I pay you and you come and pose? Stuff like that. Or friends that are, you know, willing to be in paintings, and I'm like, let me buy you something. But like, no, just be, you know, it's whatever, you know, it's fun. It's just
right. There you go. Now, you had also mentioned that you took her photo.
Yes.
Do you normally paint from photos or from life, or both?
I paint a lot from photos, but I've done so much work from life that one of my goals is to be able to paint from a photo so that it doesn't, you know, look like a photo, so that the photo doesn't control me. And actually, I just posted on my YouTube channel a demo of how I look at a photo and grid it, like do the planes and do all the structure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So that one helps. That's the way I see through photos, so that I can create form that a photo doesn't have.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing I try to tell my students all the time. You know, a camera's only got one eyeball. So, you know, with us, our eyes, you know, we see three-dimensionally. You know, this eye sees that way, this eye sees that way, and you get that's how we get depth, you know, and they get confused on that. And I say, all right, well, look at me and close one eye and then close the other eye and do this. And I said, you'll notice that my ears disappear.
Yeah.
And that's because when you look at me straight on, your eyes, you can see this side and this side a little bit, but a camera's only got one eye. So
yeah, and no brain.
And no brain, yeah.
So it's a dead one eye.
Yeah, that's right. It's a dead one eye, and it doesn't care. It's like, you know, in color theory, cameras are like that, where, you know, people take, they take photos, like Panama City Beach. The sunsets here are like, I always say, man, God's a really good painter. I wish I could paint that good. When I see the sunsets around here, they just blow our minds. And you can always tell when it's a good sunset, because all the locals, Facebook will be just blown up with photos of the sunset. And everybody always says, the picture doesn't do it justice, you know, and it's a color theory thing. You know, your eyes are, you know, doing things with the sun, and it's getting dark around here and the sun's getting brighter, and you see all the different colors and stuff. So it's like the camera doesn't care about that. You know, there's an emotional response.
Yeah, the beauty of what you're saying is interesting. Before I forget, the people have access to being artists themselves. So everybody that takes a photo of a sunset is like expressing their innate artistic taste.
Yes.
And what's funny is that being dissatisfied with their sunset is the same thing that we feel as artists with our paintings.
Right.
And it's like never the one that I experienced. Yeah. So you experience something so magical, and you want to live it, and you want to present it to the people, but it's never enough. And that's very interesting, because that means that we are also being enjoyed, or like I don't know how to communicating through the screen, and people carry with them the frame of their art and their lives. So in a way, we become part of that platform that they have in access to it. Right. So it's very cool how like our times are changing in many ways that we don't even know.
Right. And you know, speaking of an emotional response, when you look at like when I'm looking at this painting, I'm seeing this woman and seeing her personality, and there's just the way you've got her facial expression and the colors and everything else. I get an emotional response when I look at it. And that's, I guess, the other thing that's so great about art. It's that visual communication, you know, and she's coming out. There's a personality there, and you know, my mind is, because I've never met the woman, so I don't know what she's like. But when I look at the painting, I'm creating, you know, something from there. I'm making a connection there from your art, and that's probably one of the most powerful things. It's like a sunset. When you look at a sunset, you get an emotional response. You know, I mean, I can't tell you, I've seen people more than once tear up looking at a sunset. I've also seen people tear up looking at art. Yeah. And it's that emotional connection that visually happens.
That's what we pay a lot of money for, nature or art. Those are the two things that cost a lot of money. Yeah.
That's true. That is true. That is true. So.
But in the case with her, I want her to be like that breath before expressing something, and I wanted to capture that. That's why there's a little bit of a tension there before she is.
Okay, now I'm seeing that. Yeah, she looks like she's about to like do something or say something, or she's in a moment. And I guess that's what's great about this painting is that it's like when I look at Michelangelo's David, and I'm going to go there again with you. You know, it's like what you've captured here in this painting is a moment between moments. You know, when you look at Michelangelo's David, the way his head is turned and his body language, the neat thing about Michelangelo's David is that Goliath's nowhere in that piece of artwork, whereas every other David and Goliath, you'll see Goliath's head or you'll see something, but in that Michelangelo's David, he's looking at Goliath.
Yeah, so in Goliath, in people's mind,
he's about to take his first step towards the giant, towards his destiny. And so, and it's that moment, and that's what I see here is that moment between moments where she's about to say or do something that is powerful, you know, and it's
cool,
really good. Yeah. So I'm going to show one more here. Well, actually two more, but it's the same thing again. And I want to talk to you about that one. Here we go. I love this one.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool. I enjoy doing that video too.
Yeah, and then here is it in. Now, again, this is a study for the painting, or did you paint over the charcoal?
It's just two pieces by themselves. I think I don't remember which one I did first, but they're both pieces by themselves, you know, in their own right.
Right. I think what impresses me is if you look at them, you could pretty much take the charcoal drawing in like Photoshop and overlay them, and they would line up just about perfectly, you know, and that's interesting. So that's why I asked, did you paint over the charcoal drawing in them, because they're so almost identical. And so that's fantastic. So
no, for me it's expressing that with charcoal and then paint. I mean, that's a pleasure I don't get any other way. So
now let me ask you, because for me, charcoal drawing is like a day at the spa. I love to charcoal draw. When I want to relax and I just want to have fun, I break out the charcoal. I don't break out the oil paints. How about you? Which one do you find is more like therapeutic or more relaxing, or more, is it painting, or is it drawing charcoal, or is it something else?
None of those things relaxes me. You know, like I'm just like aware, like suffering the whole time, pretty much, like trying to get it. I never feel like, oh, cool, I'm just gonna do that. For that, I go fishing or something else.
No, is that it? So are you an avid fisherman? That's the next question.
Well, I've done my, spear fishing, like free diving.
Okay, so you do free diving too. You and I have way too much in common, my friend. So you do
free diving? we like good things.
Yeah. Do you scuba dive or just free dive?
Just breath hold, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I actually prefer the scuba diving I prefer free diving over scuba diving. The something about the tanks and the compressed air. You get the nitrogen in your blood. Yeah, when you dive, you get nitrogen bubbles that build up in your blood, and it's like, when you go to the dentist and they give you the happy gas, the nitrogen, and it makes you all loopy. When I go diving after about 2 dives, because normally you do 2 to 3 dives in a day, and you go down for a while, but then you have to come up and wait an hour to get the nitrogen out of your blood, and then you go back down. But usually I can do it just twice, and I am wiped out. Like, I'll sleep whenever I go diving. I know I have to have a day off the next day because I have to sleep the entire day just to snap out of it. It's really, really wild. So because you guys got some good diving down there too. Now you're on the East Coast side, So
yeah,
on the Atlantic side, yeah. So I live on the Gulf side. So it's totally different. You know, that's the thing people don't realize about Florida. The East Coast is a completely different animal compared to the Gulf Coast side.
Yeah, never been to the beach up there.
Yeah, it's really different. They call us the world's most beautiful beaches, and it's like I've been to the Western Caribbean on my honeymoon, and my wife and I came up out of the water, and we were like, "This is it." It's that nice here. It really is. I mean, on a perfect day, that emerald green water and our sugar white sand. It's really like where you guys are. You drive cars right on the beach, right?
No, that's more like Daytona, I think.
Okay, so what's your sand like down in Miami? I've never been to Miami. So.
It's artificial, I think. It's like a lot of like crushed seashells and stuff like that. Like it's not as smooth as in Cuba. Like in Cuba, it was like more like powder too.
Okay, yeah. Here it's like really thick talcum powder, and it's white like snow. So nice. It's gorgeous. It really is. It's really. We'll have to have you come up and visit us one of these days. Get you to come up to the redneck Riviera.
For sure. Once I get my car going, like we were preparing a van to cross the states and to live in a van, and now I'm on hold. So maybe we'll pass by whenever we take off.
Yeah, because you had gotten like an RV, right? You were gonna traveling and painting and all that. That sounds like a blast. That sounds like a blast.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's my plan with my exhibit is to take it. Like to do like exhibit tours.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what I do is I don't exhibit in museums. I exhibit in churches, like a church outreach program. So we hold an art exhibit in a church, and so to travel, go out, do like 10 churches, then come back, and then do 10 more, come back, and just kind of do looping exhibit tours like that. So, but yeah, the idea of getting an RV and just going, that's my thing. I love it. I think that's the way to go. I think you're gonna love it. So how often do you travel? Because you travel a lot. I see, you do a lot of traveling and on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, but we like to stay more and like experience more the things that we go and see instead of just flying back. Like we always don't like going to the airport and coming back. We always rent a car. And sometimes I even cancel my flights because I just drive for a little bit and I'm like, let's just keep going to Florida, So I love driving, and we'll see if that matches with my art, and if it's not too distracting that I can focus on both things, then we'll do it.
So let's talk about this plan, because I'm really, really curious on this. It just sounds like so much fun. So you and the wife are going to get an RV, and you're just gonna go. Do you have specific destinations that you're trying to go to, or are you just gonna fly by the seat of your pants?
Yeah, just go around and like just road tripping, off road. Just anything.
And so you're just going to stop wherever you feel like it, and then are you going to paint things when you're there? And
I'll be painting and creating YouTube videos and posting all this stuff. So I don't want to be like a traveler vlogger or anything like that. It's gonna stay, art oriented. Right. But yeah, definitely I wanna be more spontaneous. I want to get out of my comfort zone here in my studio with artificial lighting, painting all night, doing all this stuff. I want to go out and be like more outside and see how that influences me, and to breathe and to meet the people I'm gonna paint or like landscapes. So I want to be more involved with that, at least for a period of time, and see how long that lasts.
Oh, nice. It sounds like a great adventure. Do you have a timetable plan of how long you're going to be on the road doing that? A month, 2 months, 3 months? You're just like, nope.
Hopefully a year, I don't know.
Oh, really? That long? Wow, that is fantastic. What a great comment. That sounds fun. That sounds fun. My wife's like, we have to retire first. Yeah, that's pretty wild. That is fantastic. This has been great. I wish I could talk to you so much longer, but I have another interview I have to do here, and you got to go to bed, my friend.
Man, I know.
Go to bed. So how about this? I would love to interview you again one of these days. We need to do this again and share a little bit more about what's going on in your life and everything else. We have to get your wife on here next time. We can meet her too, and do that. It's always important to show the way better half,
Yeah, she's very like camera shy in some cases. Like she's not very exposed like that for outside. So, but definitely she's active with me all the time. So.
Oh, that's great. That's great. It's good to have Team Santos.
Yeah. So love and team, no more.
There you go. Well, hey, my friend, thank you. Oh, you know what? One more thing. you know, I don't know if you knew him or not, but we lost quite a giant in the art world here just recently.
Daniel Green.
Daniel Green, yeah. And
he gave me one honorable mention. In one of my first exhibits in you know, in my career, and I was so lucky to have that prize from him, because I mean, my first instructional video that I watched, it was his, and it was at the Angel Academy. They posted like for all the students, and I was watching him draw and like paint a portrait, and I was so impressed. And yeah, I got to meet him. We exhibited at the same gallery a few times, at the Eleanor Atelier Gallery in New York. And then, yeah, sad news, but I guess that's life, you know. His paintings are still alive, and I think that's the purpose. That's what he made that for. So we're just temporary. We're gonna die somehow, somewhere.
That's right. we've all got our time. And you know what I like, you know, he was such an influencer in the art world, and it inspired him. He inspired you. He inspired me. I mean, every artist I know, they're like, Daniel Green, Daniel Green, Daniel Green. I remember meeting him at Portrait Society of America 3 years ago in Atlanta, and you know, he critiqued one of my paintings, and it was just such a kind man that was all about, to me, he had a maestro's heart. You know, he wanted the master artist that was trying to raise up the next generation and stuff. So
yeah, him and Nelson Shank also, we miss him too. And you know, great figures of inspiration for our kind of vision. So that's great, man. Thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I'm going to put some slides on the screen, and then we are going to see how I do this. I'm not sure how to do this. There we go. We are going to be talking to Lacey Lewis next week. I'm really excited to talk to her. She has also got a lot of big following on YouTube. And so we are going to be talking to her next week at 9 o'clock. And I just want to, again, thank Cesar Santos for being with us today. Wasn't he great? He was fantastic. I loved it. He talks about such deep stuff, and his art is just phenomenal. Check his art out. Find him he's on everything. He's on YouTube. You definitely want to subscribe to his YouTube channel. I subscribe to it. I watch all of his videos all the time. Just a phenomenal guy to follow. He's also on Facebook. He's on Instagram. But you can also, of course, check him out on his website as well. So with that said, guys, I'm your old pal, Tim. Just remember, God loves you, and so do I. And we will see you next week.